We are going to be tying up some of those loose ends, some of those components that we have not talked about. So the first thing is log4j.properties. This is used for logging. So you would be able to write code that says logger.info or logger.debug and set some appropriate redirectors, like you could redirect your logging to your file or to the console, etc. We have some utility classes that we did not go through. First of all, we'll go through dbtest. So dbtest is a pretty straightforward class for checking your database connection. So we are basically checking that an Oracle connection works here. The next thing is a MySQL test. So once you get MySQL installed, this is the way you would check that your MySQL connection works. And the third thing is your DB Hibernate test, and here we have two methods. Since there are two ways of connecting to my Hibernate and I chose to use the Spring way of connecting to Hibernate, the first method actually uses hibernate.cfg.xml, which is not really relevant. The second method is what you will use. So your main method actually does a process too. So it gets a class path from whatever config location, and then it loads all the records of user. So this is the equivalent of saying select staff from user. So if you run this particular guy, it should say whatever the number of records. So let's run this guy. Run as standalone Java. So it says Hibernate test started, and then it loads up all of it, and then it starts loading a few things, and I'm going to maximize that. It's actually loading a few things, and then it says number of records equal to 13. So that actually corresponds with here. I could do a select count star from users, and that stands at 13. So that's your Hibernate test for MySQL. Hibernate helper is a helper class that we don't need. It's basically used to read hibernate.cfg.xml and create a session factory. We are not going to use this. The other things that I wanted to run through are startup servlet. This servlet actually runs when the application starts, and all it does is basically establish a Spring context, and then it just gives a logging saying stock app application started. So this is where log4j is used. So log4j is used here. Alright. We have some util classes which are pretty useful. So the first one is HTTP helper, which basically gets certain things from a request, like what's the URL, etc., etc. We probably may not use a lot of these. Map utility is basically to do with hash maps, and Spring helper does some context stuff. DWR we are not even using right now, but we will at some point. So that's that. We have gone through Hibernate stuff. We are not going to use Hibernate cfg.xml. This is how it is configured. This also has the HBM XMLs configured here. At some point I'll remove this stuff so that we don't have a confusion between whether to add your HBM XMLs here or to add it to your Spring definitions. Let's open up web content. We know what the libraries are, we know classes, lib, and that's pretty much the entire stock app application.